Welcome to the Genius Talk podcast. I'm your host Atul Raj from the bestemailmarketer.com, and today we have Cole Vandee with us. Cole, welcome to the podcast.
And thank you so much for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
And we are very much excited that you're here. So, for our listeners who don't know you, can you tell them who you are and what do you do?
Yeah, obviously my name's Cole. I've been in marketing and sales for about a decade. Generated hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars online for our clients. I worked with a lot of the big internet marketing gurus, some of them in some hot water right now due to some other business practices they got going on. And yeah, I've taught tens of thousands of students around the world how to write better copy, how to do better with email, how to scale companies. I've jumped into 9-figure companies and helped them scale to billion-dollar exits. I've been around when it comes to business and marketing and stuff like that.
Okay. So, I'm curious, like, what inspired you to transition from working in an automotive industry to becoming an entrepreneur and expert in email marketing?
Yeah, I mean, it's something I think about a lot, and I get asked that question quite a bit when I'm out and about or with friends or with students or whatever it may be. And the real reason I moved from sales at a car dealership in Iowa, for example, and decided to be an entrepreneur was really seeing the guys that I worked with and how they felt stuck. Like they couldn't do anything other than sell cars for the rest of their lives. Some of them were in their 30s, some of them in their 40s, some of them in their 60s. And that was their life. And to me, at 20 years old, that seemed really scary. So I just started trying everything I possibly could. I launched probably a dozen or 15 businesses. All of them failed. But I was willing to try literally anything to get out of selling cars and into something that gave me a lot more freedom and was more in alignment with what I wanted and who I was and how I wanted to do business. So that's what kind of sparked that transition, guy. That was 10 years ago, 11 years ago.
Yes, and why email marketing?
you know, I wish I had like a really cool answer for that. The truth is, it was 4.5 years ago. I was golfing. A buddy of mine gave me a call, said, "Hey, man, like the last part of me kind of getting out of the marketing department, being able to be the CEO of my company is for someone to come in and manage our email list. Can you do it?" And I had never done it before. I'd written email copy, but I'd never like actually managed a list. And I just said, yeah, like, sure, like I'll figure it out. It can't be that hard. And so I started doing that in, I want to say like April-ish of 21. Took that over and helped scale that one single list to a $1.5 million per month machine, basically. And we ended up doing over $150 million together over the next 4-ish years.
That's awesome. So what do you think? What's the biggest misconception people have about scaling email marketing for high revenue?
I don't know if it's a misconception. I think it's a missed perspective that most people that have a business of some sort, they're really focused on client acquisition, which is incredibly important. So like simply put, running ads, getting leads, getting customers. That's incredibly important. That's a phase of the business. As you mature in business and if you really want to scale your business from whatever, $1 million a year to 10 million, for example, the next thing you need to do is double down on your initial generating leads, generating customers, and then add in another way to generate more revenue, which can be email, can be SMS, could be outbound, could be inbound, whatever it is. Add in another channel to convert more customers. And for a lot of businesses, they add in email and they just kind of assume automations are going to make them all the money. And that's not the case. You really got to dive in and start working the list as you would, working your ads on the front end. And so I think most people are just missing that piece of the puzzle, thinking they can just spend more money on ads and make more money. You need to spend more money on ads and then spend more time and energy and resources on other channels of customer acquisition for those leads that are just not converting in the funnels.
So what's the highest number of email you have ever sent in a day?
In a single day for like
Yes.
just one email list?
Yeah.
We had about 200 and the biggest active list I ever had, I think it was just shy of 1,000 active contacts. We would have sent probably 40 or 50 different, maybe 60 different emails to that list, to all the different segments. Probably sent, I don't know, like a million-ish emails that day. Like to total
Okay, okay,
people.
okay. Not a number. Suppose all people are sending one email a day. So that's what I'm
Oh
asking.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, we at minimum each segment gets 2 emails a day for most of our clients. And there could be multiple segments inside of a list, depending on the complexity of the business and the maturity of the business as well. And so for that client, yeah, I mean, 60 unique written emails went out between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m.
So what mistakes do businesses typically make when trying to automate their email marketing?
A lot of businesses treat their email list like an ATM machine, and it's not that, right? Or it actually can literally be an ATM machine. If you don't make any deposits into your account, you can't expect to make a withdrawal, right? So if you're not giving any value to your list, giving them a reason to show up and to open and engage with your emails, by actually helping them, then when the time comes and you want to actually sell something to your list, they're less likely to convert. And that's why, like for one of our lists, we had a small segment. It was about 2,500 people, and in this 2,500 person list, we'd get 1,000 of them to register for a webinar. Now, not 1,000 people to open, 1,000 people to register for a webinar. Think about that. That's 40% like conversion from email lists to
Yeah.
to registering for a webinar, right? And then we'd get about 95% of those people to show up, and then we'd get about 40% of them to buy. So we would do $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 on a single webinar to a small segment of 2,500 people. And it's because of the care we took to really giving them value, helping them, surveying them, figuring out what they want, listening to their needs, and just nurturing them as much as we possibly could. So that way, once a quarter, we could go to them and be like, hey, we have this awesome thing um, for you. They'd show up, they'd buy, they'd love it. They would tell all their friends about it. It's the absolute best thing you could do for an email list.
Like, did you use your PEAS like strategy for that?
Yeah, I always use that strategy, and that's a terrible acronym, but I just couldn't come up with a sexier marketer acronym for it. But it works, and it's quite simple. The prime phase is the most important part of that, which is just giving value. It's just nurturing them as much as you can, overcoming objections by giving them different ways of thinking. So a lot of people, I've never spent that much money before is a normal thought someone has. So you just give them value around, hey, this is the money mindset of wealthy millionaires, or this is what Warren Buffett said about investing in yourself, or this is what Steve Jobs said. And then you don't make them an offer. You just leave it as this is a lesson that you can learn. And then later on, you can refer back to it and go, hey, remember when we were talking about Warren Buffett and how Warren Buffett said this? And it makes it a lot easier for you to make that sale.
Okay. You said while nurturing, you will send an email that's about Warren Buffett, and later people who read that email will going to receive the second email that you talked about.
Yeah, I mean the way that I set up my sends is in the morning. For example, I'll send to people that are a little less engaged. So anyone that's open between 0 and 60 days, maybe, or 0 and 30 days, or 0 and 90 days. So a lot, I call it a wider segment. There's a lot more people in it. A lot of them haven't opened recently. So I'll mail those people. And then in addition to that, in the afternoon, I'll mail people that have opened between 0 and 10 days or 0 and 5 days. And so if you've opened in the past 5 or 10 days on an email list that I manage, you're going to get both that morning email and an afternoon email. So you're going to get 2 emails a day. But for the less engaged folks that maybe haven't opened in 30 days or so, they're only going to get that morning email. And so I can have 2 different conversations throughout the day with my list. I can have a more, bringing awareness back in, getting people more excited in the morning, kind of a re-engagement type email. And then in the afternoon, I can have a little more matter of fact or a little bit deeper conversation with the people that have been opening more frequently.
Okay. So, what's the most uncommon way to build an email list?
Most uncommon way I know to build an email list,
Grow. Sorry,
to
grow.
grow an email list.
Yeah.
I don't know if I guess like most people think like run paid ads and give something away for free. That's one way to do it. What I'm seeing that most, I would say, like direct response marketers are missing out on is to co-sponsor some sort of virtual events that are outside of the internet marketing space. So for example, last month, a friend of a friend is part of this podcast group, and I won't name drop them necessarily, but what they did is that there's like 8 or 9 guys that own these really big brands. They do $100 million a year each in consumer products, and they all come together and they have a single podcast. And what they do for all their brands is they'll put together like a live event. So they had a 4-hour event they did last month on, how to prepare for Black Friday for e-commerce. And then they had a bunch of companies, like a bunch of their vendors and stuff like that. They had a bunch of them sponsors. So if I registered to attend that 4-hour event, I now get marketing emails from like 27 different vendors. And I was aware of that up front. It wasn't like a shady back-end thing. It was very clear, like when you register, these companies are going to be contacting you directly for marketing purposes and to make sure you can take advantage of deals. And that's a great way to leverage someone else's audience to build your own. And those leads aren't going to be as high of quality as like, paid direct cold traffic that opts into your specific thing, but it is an opportunity for you to get in front of more people. And so that was a interesting kind of perspective that I saw last month that I think probably is working pretty well for them, because I've seen it happen a couple of times now over the last year.
Okay. By the way, this is a personal question. What do you think? So, is it easy to scale by having one service or having multiple service? Because right now, I'm thinking about like only having one service and just cutting down every other services.
Yeah, that's a great question. If you ask anybody that's ever scaled anything substantially to like pretty big dollar amounts, they'll tell you that doubling down on one thing and building all the momentum in the world, that's the key. What I will say is what's very important is you need to, before making the decision on what is the one service, for example, you need to really look at what is my total addressable market here, and is there an upstream or a downstream from this that I'm willing to go to. So what a lot of people do is they service the downstream customers, the lower quality, lower price point, more of a headache type of customers, because there's a lot more of them, and you don't need as much credibility and authority, and you don't have to be as good at sales and everything else because they're not as sophisticated. But that's a very challenging place to operate in unless you're really, really, really dialed in. And then some people are in the middle, and then some people are at the top. And so depending on what type of business you want to run and who you want to service is going to be the first decision you make. And then from there, that will help dictate like, okay, so, if my total addressable market is like 500,000 business owners, and I can get to 1% of that market, is that the scale that I want to achieve? And if it is, then it's great. And then from there, you might decide, well, do I want more of this market, or do I want to double down and help my customers with more things? And that's where I think making the decision of adding more services in would come into play. For some, like for me, for example, on the service side of things, I pretty much only do email, and I will every once in a while do some funnel consulting, but it's very rare. And that's only if like a really good friend or a really good client of mine is saying, hey, like my good friend needs help and I know you can help them, then I'll do it sometimes. But other than that, I've only done email. When I was doing copy, in the beginning, I did everything, and then I narrowed down and only did sales letters. And then after that, I only did landing pages. And then after that, I only did Facebook ad copy. And then after that, I only did email copy. And so I really niched down to my services. So that way, when someone said, hey, I need a copywriter, my network would be like, well, what do you need them for? And they'd start qualifying people for me, which makes me seem higher tier, higher level, higher status right off the bat. And just other people knowing you're willing to say no makes them almost want to work with you a little bit more. So it's a good psychological kind of anchor to use as well.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, I was thinking about in email marketing only and only providing services of doing launches and nothing else.
Cool. Yeah. There's a market for everything, and you can make money doing pretty much anything you want. There's enough there. It's defining who you want to work with, and recognizing how big is that pool of people, and what is the maximum amount of money they can pay you that makes the most sense for them, and make it look like a great deal. For me, I did email marketing for 4 years. I got paid between $10,000 and $30,000 a month minimum. And then I would also negotiate JV deals where we did launches. I'd get a percentage of deals.
Uh-huh.
And then most email marketers are out there working for $500 a month. And so there's a lot less clients that I can take at 10, 20, $30,000 a month, $80,000 a month, right? And at the same time, I don't need as many clients to make the same amount of money most guys are doing. Most guys are working 12 hours a day trying to do it. So it really depends on who you want to work with, how you want to work with them, and the availability of the marketplace. And from there, it's much easier to make decisions on like, who do you want to serve? How do you want to serve them? And is this a way that I want to do business?
Okay, that was really helpful. Actually, I only do JV, so yeah, I'm doing good.
Awesome.
Okay, so what's the best book you have ever read that has the most impact on your work?
Oh, that's interesting. That's a good question. Man, I've read so many books. I would say like from a marketing, copywriting, business perspective, Never Split the Difference kind of started opening my mind to the philosophy of starting with no by Jim Camp. And that helped me really understand communication at a different level. That was really fascinating for me. I would say the book right now that's really driving a lot of where what I'm looking at building and how I'm looking at building things is Exponential Organizations, and that's a book about how to scale like to ridiculous dollar amounts that most people, most entrepreneurs, when you say this is the plan, they go, I don't know how that's possible. It's how $1 trillion companies get built. It's how $1 billion a year revenue companies get built. And so that's really what I'm studying right now is figuring out like how do I build a 9-figure a year company fast and how do I do that with leverage and how do I do that with efficiency and with impact all at the same time. So that's been my Bible for the last probably 8 months now, I would say.
So, what's the email strategy that you wish you know earlier?
The email strategy I wish I knew earlier. I've been using the same strategy since the beginning. It's the strategy I use in email is the same strategy I used in sales. It's the same strategy I used in writing copy. Is like everything that ever worked and produced money, whether it was face-to-face sales or webinar or whatever, it's the same, like it's just the exact same thing, just broken down into email. Like at first, you have to figure out how you can add some sort of value to someone's life without actually wanting anything in return. That's the key to that. I know everyone says that it's such a cliche, but it's so true. Like just help people by helping them. Like make the goal of any sort of value. Just like I want to help this person, and my hope is that they don't have to buy anything from me as a result of them reading this or seeing this. And do that, and do it a lot of it. And then after that, then it's a very simple process. You want to make sure everyone is aware of the offer or the opportunity. So you want to do this not by screaming from the rooftops or anything like that, but you want to find one asset that delivers the message the best. And so this may be a VSL, it may be a webinar, maybe a landing page, maybe an ebook, whatever it is. So then your goal is to get as many people to consume that particular mechanism, right?
Mhm.
And they may not buy right away, and that's okay. But now they're aware, because having that conversation with someone that's aware is much different than having a conversation with someone who isn't. Right. So if I'm running an email offer, my goal in the first couple days in a promo is to get someone to click, because if they click, I can now segment them and have a much different conversation. Like, hey, you know that this is here. You know this is available. Why aren't you taking action? I can't do that with someone that hasn't clicked. Right. They haven't seen my landing page, or they haven't seen my offer. They haven't seen my selling mechanism. I can't be as upfront and direct with them. I can't be as confrontational, right? So I want to earn the right to be confrontational. So I want to write copy that encourages them to be exposed to the offer in which I'm promoting. So that's huge. Now that some people are exposed to it, some people aren't. Now I'm moving into emotion. Why should you care? Why is this important to you? Why should you listen? Why does this work? I want to tell a lot of stories. I really want to get people bought into like this idea. It's like, okay, this big thing's happening. Here's a lot of emotional connections that will happen as a result, whether you're an office worker, or you're a nurse, or you're a mom, or you're this, or you're that. I'm really talking to the customer avatar as much as I possibly can. And I really want to share as much story as I possibly can. Now that they have all of that emotion and all the stories and everything else, now I'm going to sprinkle in just a little bit of proof and then a lot of urgency. Why should you do it now? So they've seen that something is available. They've seen why they should do it. Now they need to know when they need to do it by and why it needs to happen now. And so curating real deadlines is important. So for the clients that I have run most of our offers with, pretty much we close the event, meaning like you can't register for it after whatever we say the cutoff is. So if the cutoff is Tuesday at noon, and Tuesday at 12:01, that page is closed. We don't give you an opportunity to register for the next one. We don't even tell you there is another one. It's closed. It's done. You missed it, right? And that creates another piece of psychology that works the next time you open something up. And
Yeah.
so that's our process. It's fairly simple, but it works in sales, it works on webinars, it works in sales letters. It's just a strategy that works for human beings. And so that's why I use it.
What do you have to say about being a perfectionist as an email marketer?
I'm God, I get yelled at sometimes from my clients because I'm not. uh, I make mistakes. I've sent over 1 billion emails at this point. I've generated hundreds of millions of dollars from email, and I make mistakes. I just made a mistake on Sunday that definitely is going to hurt the client. It'll probably cost us a little bit of cash. It's going to happen. Like there's no avoiding it. I've made mistakes like putting a broken link in an email or, sending it to the wrong, I'm sending something to customers and it should have been going to leads. I've sent something to leads that should have been going to customers. Like it's going to happen. And thinking that you're going to somehow execute on anything perfectly is insane. You're not going to send 1 billion emails perfectly. That's not going to happen. Walmart makes these mistakes. Nike makes these mistakes. Like the biggest players in the world that are making the most amount of money with teams of quality assurance and everything else to make sure things are perfect. They make mistakes. So you're going to make a mistake as an email marketer. It's going to happen. I think that the good thing, and this isn't true for everything, but I know it is for email, there's absolutely nothing you can do in an email that it can't be fixed later. And so you might hurt inboxing or deliverability. You might go to spam. You might upset a couple of customers, but it can be fixed. And that I think has given me the most amount of creative freedom of like trying to push boundaries and push things as far as I possibly can, because I know no matter what I do, it's always fixable. And so it's kind of like working with clay. Like you can mold it and mold it and mold it. If you mess up, you just crumple it back up into a ball and you start again. And so email's a lot like that in many ways.
Okay, so who are your ideal clients?
Truthfully, right now, I'm not taking on any email clients. I've been working with a handful of clients very quietly in the background, just helping them scale. Just a couple of clients I really believe in. I'm focused on my next venture, which I don't know if I've shared this on a podcast yet. So you can get the first if you want.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
launching a beverage company, and so we're working on an elite focus beverage for high performers. It's a ready to drink 12-ounce can. Um, and it'll have a bunch of nootropics in it, a bunch of hydration, all clinical dosages, really well researched. I've spent the last 10 months working with some of the best people in the world on building this thing up. We're still about 10, 11 months away from being able to launch to the marketplace. We're looking at fall of 2026, but it's been fun and it's been a roller coaster, and I've had to pull in all the skills I've learned throughout all the different businesses I've been inside of to figure out how to make this thing work. And so it's been exciting. So if you guys are interested in following along for that journey, just follow me on social media, and as I get going, I'll be posting a lot more about what I got going on with that.
Okay, you just remind me. I just had modafinil in the morning and two L-theanine over in the afternoon and one just before the call.
Very cool, man. Yeah, no,
But
you're on it.
what about you? Do you take any kind of nootropics?
Yeah, I like cetacloline a lot. That'll be one of the ingredients we're going to be putting in the drink. But yeah, cetacloline, L-theanine, L-tyrosine, those are all great. I'm going to be starting a new peptide here soon that helps fire off those BDNF receptors in the brain for dopamine, cognitive function, and stuff like that. So curious how that goes. Yeah, I've been in the biohacking world, if you will, for probably about 2.5 years now, poking and prodding myself, trying to make myself a superhuman.
Yeah. Okay, so what biohacking you did that has the most impact on you, on your performance?
My diet. to be honest with you. Everything else I've done, I had a full medical team. So 2.5 years ago, I decided my health was going to be the most important thing to me. I hired an entire medical team. They out of Miami. They service billionaires and celebrities and stuff like that. Like Jake Paul's one of their clients, for example. And so they run. I mean, they took an incredible amount. I think they took like 7 vials of blood or something crazy. Like it was insane. They ran like 1,500 biomarkers on me and gave me a full lay of my health. Like this is everything, and everything that they, all the peptides, all the supplements, all the stuff they gave me helped accelerate the process. But the only thing that actually mattered was my diet. And so I just switched to eating whole foods, nothing processed, no sugars, no sodas, no fast food. And that has been the biggest change for me from a biohacking perspective. From like a sexier like biohacking answer, like NAD is incredible. Highly recommend. Cold plunges and saunas are a life changer. If you've never done contrast therapy like that, highly recommend it. What else?
Hey, by the way, one day I tried like cold water, then hot water, okay? And I got ill.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's a great. If you don't have access to like cold plunges and saunas and stuff, take hot shower to ice cold shower is a great way to do it as well. You can dip your face in ice cold water. There's a million different ways to go about it.
I think I was doing it wrong because I got ill after that.
Yeah, no, it's there's not really a wrong way to do it. The idea is to shock the nervous system.
Okay.
And so it's the shock of the nerve. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm a doctor or a scientist, but from my understanding, the cold and hot therapy, basically the cold therapy shocks the nervous system. It then sends new blood to your vital organs, and that new blood has oxygen cells. So it helps kind of heal, if you will, some of those important organs in the body. And then from a sauna perspective, from my understanding, you're sweating out toxins. I'm sure it does other stuff that I'm not Andrew Huberman or any of these science dudes, right? But I know I feel better when I do a sauna. I know I feel better when I do a cold plunge. I've tried it and it's worked. I used to play sports. I used to do the same thing back then and sweat and get into cold therapy and heal stuff with ice and all that fun stuff. And it works really well.
Like right now, what nootropics are you taking?
I'm taking acetylcholine, L-theanine, L-tyrosine. Those are the 3 main ones. And then I'm experimenting with a coffee fruit extract, which is it's not caffeinated. It's a part of the coffee flower plant. And it's designed, its real like benefit to the human body is to help with the BDNF receptors in the brain. And so that's what I'm kind of playing with right now. And then also a peptide, which I'm not going to name just because I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I don't want people to just go out and start trying stuff. I haven't even tried it yet. I'm going to pick it up this week, but it's basically everything I'm doing right now is like, can I fire the BDNF receptors in the brain and what effect am I going to feel as a result? Which is like a lot of your Adderall and your modafinil and stuff like that. Like that's for the most part, they're doing that from a pharmaceutical chemical standpoint. So I'm looking at natural ways to get the same result.
Okay. So is there anything else that you would like to share?
I guess like I always like to leave with like one thing, like just like one takeaway. If anybody's listening to this, something I wish like I would have listened to, maybe 10 years ago. It's no matter what the thing is that you want to do, kind of thing, do it and take so much action towards it that would be unreasonable that you would fail. And Hormozy said that more recently, and he was quoting some other guy, but it's been the story of my life. I wasn't a great salesman. I just did a lot of sales. I wasn't a great copywriter. I just wrote a lot of copy. I wasn't a great email marketer. I just did a lot of email. And I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I didn't go to college. I was a D student at best in high school. I just work really hard and it works for me. It doesn't mean it's the only way, but it's definitely a way that works. There are definitely people out there that are dumber than whoever is listening to this right now. And they're doing what you want to do because they just decided to go do it. And so I hope everyone listening to this just takes massive action towards their goals and dreams, regardless of how stupid or cringy it looks on the internet or to your friends or to your family. And you just go after what you want because you can have absolutely anything you want in life. So
That's awesome, cool. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. And It was really great chatting with you.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me, man. I had a blast.
Yeah.